5 days you work, 1 whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday,
Saturday with Renee.
Yes, welcome everybody back to Black Liberation Media and episode 121 consecutively of Saturdays with Renee, featuring Renee Johnston. I'm Jared Ball, happy to be your co-host. Please like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon, and now you can do that because StreamYard and Restream are in this wonderful little platform war, biting off of one another. So now over here, you can also just QR code your way over to the Patreon of Black Liberation Media. Easy peasy. Make it just a nice, swift. And we do invite people to do that as much as you can now become a channel member here. We do want you to be at the Patreon just in case. And Renee, I know I'm rambling, but it's just off the top, you know, one of my atheist debates channels just got snatched off YouTube.
See?
Out of nowhere. So they were doing the same thing, encouraging people to do their email lists and Patreon, because you never know when and why the overlords, our wonderful Google, YouTube overlords, we love you all to death. Thank you all very much for letting us exist. Renee, how you doing? How you doing today?
You know what? Look, I got up really early this morning because my husband needed my help with something. So
we usually do.
So I'm out of the house already. It's cold as fuck outside. Sorry, mommy. It definitely
we got some of that too.
Word. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. And I'm gonna make sure. So I went to the supermarket yesterday because I wasn't trying to be like in with the crowds of people who realized that it might actually for real snow. And so I went yesterday and I'm just ready. I can't wait to get back into my house because it's cold as hell outside and it don't make no damn sense. So
the rent is too damn high and it's too damn cold outside.
That's right.
And although I will say this, I was glad to get a little glimpse of this freezing cold again, to just as a last reminder of what global warming used to not take away from us down here so often. Like we used to get snow here in Maryland for real. And we really don't anymore, although they're saying we're going to get something tonight or tomorrow. But
and it's supposed to be legit. Like they're talking by me about like 18 inches. So it's supposed to be like for real snow. Like,
you know what?
Like,
I forgot.
Not like baby snow, like for real. Like this is why I didn't stay in Syracuse snow.
I just realized I have to double check, but Morgan already closed for Monday. So maybe we'll have another edition of the Remix Morning Show Monday morning.
Oh, there you go.
Let me double check and confirm. But yeah.
Look, listen, we'll take it. And Terry, I see what you're saying. I'm gonna see if I can find it while we're rolling this morning.
Release what video?
So it appears, Terry, that someone else was murdered by ICE this morning in Minnesota. So since this is on par with our conversation, I'll take some time to see if I can find any information while we're going today. But I mean, it's getting, I don't want to say, I don't like to say things like it's getting out of control and all these things, because it is, but it's also par for the course, right? Like it's also like, well, of course, like they've been killing people in prisons and murdering people in the streets. This is what law enforcement and governmental structures have been doing since the start of the country, right? And so, I'm trying my best to figure out how to have these conversations without being dismissive of the very real things that are happening in real time right now, but while also just simply acknowledging and making sure that people understand that none of this is actually new, right? Like it's just not, like none of it is actually new. But do we have any other preliminary stuff to talk about? Because I don't
No,
even, like, I don't
just
want to get too far into it without
yeah,
bringing my
no.
girl up.
We got a special guest, and it's a privilege and an honor. And just a quick last reminder for everybody to like, share, subscribe, put this in your social, support the platform however you can, and then joining us from the broader world of Black activism and community, and of course the Remix Morning Show Friday edition in particular, is the Amber Sherman.
The Amber.
Welcome back, and welcome
Y'all
to
know
Saturdays with Renee. Let me do this correctly. And yes, this is such a delight, despite the fact that you're here to help us work through some horrific nonsense. But welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Don't
I'm
say my whole
really
name on the
excited.
internet anymore, Jared.
I mean, why I don't understand. But it's in my, I wouldn't, but it's in your whatchamacallit. But my bad. All
I
right.
figure out how to change it. That's not what's important. That's why I won't be making comments on that page no more.
My apologies. So A is for Afro.
I just imagine somebody in a white supremacist basement in their mama house just clipping every time you say my full name and looking me up.
Fair enough.
I'm kidding.
I think because you are so I think at this point you're probably more widely known than you even realize, and so this is like I think it might be unavoidable for you at this point, but
I like to remain naive. Let's not talk about it.
There you go. We'll just leave it alone.
I never knew that it happened.
There you go. And I'll just point out for the record that social media is where I found Amber. Like you were cussing somebody out at a city council meeting, and I was like, who is this?
I do be yelling at people at them city council meetings.
You were going off. I was like, I am here for it. Let me follow this person. So
I remember that's when I used to be on Twitter.
Yes, it was when yes.
Such a good time.
So much. But welcome, Amber. I'm excited to have you here with us. So even though people should all know who you are at this point, being that we are basically merging shows, if you could do the
crossover episode like Disney Channel.
There you go. If you could do the quick, like who you are, where you're at, what you do, why you're here, and then we will get into this whole ICE conversation.
Yeah, my name is Amber. I'm a policy organizer in Memphis. I do a lot of like organizing, a little bit of activism here and there, mostly with our official bill in Memphis chapter here in Decarcerate Memphis, where I write policies and do different engagement type of work. I'm snowed in with some that want to go out every 5 minutes and run around. I'm struggling. Pray for my nerves. The dog is doing a lot.
I will say my dog has given me full evidence that he's actually Black, because it's cold enough that he'd be like, I'm just gonna do my business. I'm coming back inside. I ain't mess with y'all. Let's go. It's too cold for this.
No, he's a shepherd mix. He wants to go and run around real quick, and then he'll come back, and then 15 minutes later he want to go do it again. I can't handle it. This has happened every time it snows, though. This was him last year too, and I just gave him some CBD and said, leave me the fuck alone. I can't do this. It is a real feel of -1 degrees outside. Why do you want to go out?
Oh wow, we have a balmy 14.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it. It's been snowing steadily since like 2 a.m.
Oh,
it's about 6 inches outside.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because it's coming from the west. That's right. The storm that we're getting is coming from the west. So it's serious business.
Yeah, allegedly we don't get anything until late tonight, tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's supposed to really start dropping. The temperature's supposed to hit like -2 tomorrow and like later in the week too. I was like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's absurd. So just so people understand what happened, shout out to Chris of Eclectic Radical, because he reached out to me like 3 weeks ago and he was like, do you want to do something on ICE? Do you have time? And I was like, sure. So I got on with Chris and Jamar last Sunday, and y'all know how I get with my rabbit holes and finding shit. And so in the process of just making sure that I had some updated information about ICE and what was going on, like in the current moment, I came across a report from it's the American Immigrant. Hold on, let me make sure I have the right name going here. So it's
American Immigration Council.
The American Immigration Council, that really kind of breaks down what's happening, and it's from this month. Like, it's a very recent report. And so I thought to myself, well, this would be perfect excuse to have Amber come on and we could talk about ICE, because you are also in the belly of the beast with what's going on with ICE and DHS and the state being in complete complicity with what the federal government's doing. And so I sent the report along to Amber and Jared and asked if she'd be willing to come on, and here y'all go. So you get to enjoy all the things, mostly because I'm nosy and I came across a report that I felt like everybody else needed to read. So that's how we got started here. So Amber, you're going to talk about so I sent you the report, and I know you said I don't know if you had time to go through it this week, but do you have anything that we're kind of, where should we start with this whole thing? Do you want to start with what's happening in Memphis? Do you want to start with this kind of overview with what the International Council did? Talk to me.
I think that, I can give some context of what's happening here in Memphis, and we can look at some of the numbers from the report.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool. So I know I talked before about us having ICE agents here. We have a task force here. It's called the Memphis Unsafe Task Force is what we're calling it. And it's about 3,000 federal agents, 300 state troopers, and then all those federal agents are deputized as ICE. So they're from different departments like HSI, FBI, the IRS police, the Department of State, and then ICE agents themselves. But they're all deputized as ICE, and they're riding around doing traffic stops with sheriffs, Shelby County Sheriff officers, or state troopers. So they'll be in these SUVs with them, or they'll be behind them in unmarked cars, and they're doing all these racial traffic stops just so they can get people who they assume are not citizens, which is mostly Black people. 77% so far has been Black people or Hispanic folks. So those are the main people they're stopping, the main people they're detaining, and then shipping them off to, there's at least 3 different detention centers nearby. There's one in Mississippi, there's one in Mason, Tennessee, and then the one in Louisiana. They've been taking people there too. So it's kind of spread out. But we've been tracking who's being stopped through a data transparency dashboard that we had the city to set up, and then cross-referencing that with the previous data from traffic stops before. And so right now they've hit close to 70,000 traffic stops, and there's an increase of 310% of traffic stops happening in Memphis in general, just because of this task force.
Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to find.
I have the report pulled up.
Yeah, if you want to pull it up, and then we can talk about the national numbers, because some of the stuff that's really standing out to me, I think as this whole thing is moving, is the evidence that confirms more solidly for me that none of this is new, right? And so it just feels to me that what is essentially happening is kind of a shift from, instead of your local law enforcement doing these things and being the problem, now it's going to be the federal government, Department of Homeland, ICE, whatever. Now they're all working in conjunction with the local law enforcement. So it's not there's not really a full, a real line happening between the two things. But, as I read this report and started to see how a lot of these things are playing out, I'm like, okay, so I'm not crazy. This stuff is not new, right? Private prisons being open and being where they're housing and holding captive immigrant. This they started opening in the 1980s. So we're looking at like over 4 decades of these, these buildings being places where they are capturing and holding people hostage because whatever reason they decide to do so. And Jared pointed out, like, this is the Black president that did all of this in the mid, right? Like it really started to boost up in the mid 90s, which is when Clinton was in power, correct?
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting they didn't like name that part or name the part that Barack Obama played in it or Biden, because I still think that Barack's numbers are bigger than Trump's current numbers still.
Barack's numbers remain the highest as of right now for the president that has incarcerated and detained the most immigrants. Now, it may change over these next, but I think it's important for people to understand that even with all of this, like, promotional materials that the federal government is doing, they have not done the numbers that they claimed they were going to do up until this point. Like, even the numbers of people that they're holding and that they're detaining are not matching the numbers that they claimed they were going to be able to do, because it's just not what they want you to think it is. Right?
Yeah, that's been like one of the biggest issues here is like, the narrative that they're creating isn't accurate, and now they're really starting to lose the narrative war because people are like, well, those things aren't true. Like, the crime in Memphis was at a 25-year low in the summer before they came here. When they got here, they weren't arresting the amount of people that they said they were going to be arresting. So then they just started arresting everybody. So like, if you had expired registration, they're arresting you. You don't have insurance, they're arresting you. Even though they're not arrestable offenses, any kind of traffic stop, they're arresting you, because they wanted to look like they're arresting all these violent people. But because we had that data transparency dashboard up, people could see they were arresting people for non-violent misdemeanors. And we're like, y'all not getting none of the killers. You're not doing none of the stuff you said you was going to be doing. These people are not violent, which is obvious. So then they just stopped posting about it. They stopped releasing any of the ICE numbers, so they wouldn't release the ICE data at all here. So we had to put in FOIA requests for it because it was showing that like they were lying. And they want to keep up, this appearance of like, we're so tough on immigration because all these people are criminals, which is obviously not true.
I just wanted to quickly add that it's for me, it's also not just an issue of who deported or detained more by presidency or administration. It's that it's the continuity of the policy. It's the continuity of the approach. It's the precedent that's been set by what are supposed to be the more progressive and advanced administrations that allows for what we're seeing now to escalate or continue. And so that's another one of the reasons why I love to constantly remind that this is not brand new. This did not just start, and that this is in fact a policy that is 250 years old.
Sorry. Do we want to pause real quick? Do you mind? Do we want to pause real quick and just highlight what happened in Minneapolis this morning? Or do we want to hold, just because this is all like, there's so much chaos.
I'm fine if y'all want to talk about it, but I don't watch videos of people being murdered. So
no, it's not. I don't think they have any recording of it. It's just the story, so that we're, given like clear information about what all actually happened in Minneapolis this morning. And fair warning, this is Fox News, but I think local Fox News is not always the same as national Fox News. So this is the local Fox News. I just dropped it in the private chat, Jared, out of Minneapolis this morning.
Third shooting in Minneapolis involving federal agents. And we playing the clip, is that, or?
Listen, look, my job here was to try and find something to give information. So I guess we could try and play the clip and hope that it's not anything crazy.
I mean, we could just, from their Twitter feed, it says multiple law enforcement sources tell me there's been a border patrol involved shooting. There we go again. Police involved shootings. That's the same language. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. near 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue, Border Patrol shooting a person. I'm told the person is down and medics are working on them. No details yet. The suspect, they're claiming, was armed with a gun and has been recovered by federal agents.
You know, just to point out for the record, like
Tim Walz, I'm sorry. Yeah,
no,
sorry.
go ahead.
But just Tim Walz is governor. I just spoke with the White House after another horrific shooting by federal agents this morning. Minnesota has had it. This is sickening. The president must end this operation, pull the thousands of violent, untrained officers out of Minnesota now.
There we go with the untrained.
Mm-hmm. Right. They need more training, and then we're back to the involved. So yeah, that's seems to be the extent of the. I don't know why these things keep popping up, but yeah, that's the extent of the reporting there.
And of course, they have the random picture of a firearm, which
they claim that that's what they recovered from the suspect, because as you all were both just saying, these are all violent criminals who deserve what's happening. And the worst part was, I was looking at it here, here in Maryland, of course, and even in our beloved Howard County, which is often voted as one of the top counties to live in the country. Also increased in its segregated experience per my homeboy Diedrich's recent report. But the one of the incidents here where ICE was grabbing people up involved black and brown agents, which was another part of it. There was not in that scenario immediate scenario that was depicted in one of the recent incidents here. There were no visibly white people involved. And I just thought that was somewhat telling and important to note as well, that we are going to be encouraged against ourselves and one another in this process. And it was giving a kind of Buffalo Soldier vibe and a U.S. military vibe and a black cop vibe. But it was so yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So all right. So everybody. So we did find some. I just wanted to pull up some very quick information to confirm that yes, indeed, someone was shot by ICE this morning in Minneapolis. Status Quo is live on the scene because them poor they've been out live in Minneapolis for like 2 months straight. It's like the craziest thing happening. And there's a part of me that, although I appreciate that coverage, I wish he had a bigger team, because there is so much happening in so many different places. And because right now all eyes are on Minneapolis and everyone is watching what's happening in Minneapolis, people, I think, are not fully aware that like ICE killed somebody in Compton like 2 days ago. Right. And they're definitely all over the place.
Pay attention to where the white people are rebelling. That's what matters the most.
Right. So that, so I'm concerned about how do we get to a place where people can become aware of how many different spaces all of these things are actually transpiring at once, because that is part of the problem, is that they're quite, in places where the local enforcement is fully in bed with what ICE and DHS is doing. They're quietly snatching up people and terrorizing families, and no one is being made aware of the situation. You know what I'm saying? And so my concern is not that what's happening in Minneapolis is not a problem, and not that people shouldn't be paying attention, but that these things are happening all over the place. And this is exactly how they've been getting away with it for decades. Is they've been moving quietly. So while mainstream media and all these people are all eyes on Minneapolis and paying attention to what's happening in Minneapolis, you have a whole slew of things that are happening everywhere else that no one's really taken into account, no one's tracking, no one's monitoring, and it's the same problem. So when I say to people, this is not a new problem. It's similar to the way that when Democrats are in power, they terrorize and kidnap and do things to people closer to the border, and no one's paying attention. And so now, so this is how it moves. And I just want to, this is the language that I struggle with, is trying to get people to understand that I'm not downplaying what's happening now. I'm trying to get people to understand that what's happening now is simply a continuation of what's always happened. It's just a little bit more in your face now. And because mainstream media is completely okay with highlighting these problems, when it's Trump that's in the White House, there, you know, everybody's on board now with calling it out.
It's a good point. And I mean, we've talked about it over the years, and it's been expressed that Obama's election and Democrats in office has a negative impact on people's ability to organize and get more people out to protest. So there is this relationship between a right-wing president being in office, being targeted for doing things that, as we've said, are extensions of ongoing policies and approaches that have been accepted and welcomed, and the precedent laid, for them for a long time. So, it's not like he didn't have to, that is, Trump didn't have to come in here and invent these agencies and these policies. He just had to call for them to be ramped up. And I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, and put more money into it.
And put more money into it. And in some ways, I think it's interesting as just even a reminder as to the kind of country that we're forced to live in, that there are still this many people this willing to this quickly sign up and join up and chase down people.
They said they need money and they sellouts.
Yeah.
Right, because the numbers right. for ICE agents, when they put out that call for people to sign up, I think they doubled. Like, I think they literally doubled their numbers, because that many people went out and signed up to go terrorize other people's communities so that they could get a check. And, I was talking to my mother about it, and she was like, people who want money and I just, there is no amount of money that I can envision any governmental agency being able to pay me that would make me willing to go and terrorize and oppress other Black and brown people. Like, I just no. Like, the answer is fuck no. Like, no, I have no interest in it. I don't want any part of it. I like none of it. Like, thanks anyway. And so I'm concerned.
Hold up. I'm sorry to cut you off. Did this person, because I have the settings, so did Chrism 4531 sign up, subscribe to the channel, or because they're commenting through YouTube, so they must have subscribed over 24 hours ago just to be here and able to comment this stupidness and get themselves kicked off. So I'm assuming this is in response to me saying we're forced to be in this country and that the door is right over there. The same to you. And if you don't like all this discussion and all these immigrants, take your ass back to wherever the hell you think you came from and kick rocks too. Because I'm sure you're not a First Nations representative. And if you are, you a seller and a trade out, and be gone yourself and go home to go follow your masters back to Europe. Anyway. So and I'll have to guess whatever your response will be, because you ain't gonna be able to put it here. So like
he was really grinding your gears, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I set the thing as I said it. Like, I can't believe you would wait 24 hours and subscribe just to put dumbness in here and get it.
I could definitely see someone doing that.
That's wild. Well, then, enjoy yourself. Sign up again. Just get a new handle and sign up again, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Good luck with that.
Oh my goodness.
If you don't mind, Jared, if you want to pull the report back up now, the American Immigration Council report.
Well, What I thought was interesting, I was just looking at one part of it where it was saying that they have 15 billion a year to use on immigration, and to the point we were just making, like, imagine 15 billion going to actual jobs programs or healthcare or education or something that and said, we'll instead of encouraging you to pick up a gun and chase down largely poor and harmless people who are only here chasing work that was stolen from their country as a result of the policies of this federal government, then that might be kind of dope. Or for people to raise that question, why is 15 billion so easily made readily available for an increased federal police force as opposed to anything else? But
no, listen, it's and that's an absurd amount of money when you think about how much money it would take for everyone to have somewhere to live, right? Because it wouldn't cost that much, right? And so it's just more pointing to where the priorities are in general for this government as it relates to doing the things that are necessary for the material conditions of people who live in the country. Because you don't go from zero to that number, right? Like, that's a gradual increase that happens over time. And one of the things that Chris reminded me of when we were on is how young ICE actually is, which I had totally forgotten that ICE started after 9/11. So we're not even, like, I think Amber's
they had
older
to
than
find
ICE.
weapons of mass destruction.
Right. Like, I think Amber's older than ICE, right? And you a baby
I am
still.
older than ICE. I am a baby.
So it's important for people to understand that all of these things are newly created ways that the government came up with in order to terrorize the population, mostly so that they could continue to make money off of war and weaponry, right? Because there's nothing about this that is keeping anyone safe, quote unquote, right? Like, public safety, as they like to call it, has nothing to do with it. So a couple of things from the article that stood out, from this report that stood out for me, is how actually small how small the percentage of the population is that's undocumented. I don't think I've ever really looked into the actual numbers to see, like, the way they carry on about how undocumented people are such a negative impact. It's literally 4%. It's 4%. Like, that's it. It's 14 million people. It is 4% of the population. So
the Tennessee
just for the
Republicans
record,
said they in Tennessee taking all the resources, all the public resources. They taking all our taxpayer dollars. Mind you, you can't get any of those public assistance things unless you're a citizen.
Right. Did you have something, Chad?
Oh, no, other than just what you just both said. I mean, those 2 points right there demolish the entire things you just both said. Demolish 99.9% of this whole argument. That it's 14. It reminds me of the whole thing. The whole welfare debate was over less than 1% of the budget. Like, it's they're talking about the welfare, they're living off of us and taking everything. It's not even a percentage point. It's not, and all these immigrants taking all of these resources that, as Amber just said, you have to be a citizen to get in the first place. And they pay taxes into this nonsense, even as they work here, quote unquote, illegally. So this is all, and they're hired by the same motherfuckers that don't want to hire and pay anybody else and don't ever get any of the blame. So it's like, if you want to stop pointing at the person that took the job out of desperation and point to the person that hired them and say, why don't you hire all of us? And let's look at your pocketbook and see how much you walk away with instead of hiring all of us. So we get paid 10 times as much to work half as much. That's what I keep trying to say. Like we don't have to, it should be like 2 days a week we all go to work at most. And that's it. And then be chilling, and we'd still be producing all this nonsense and whatever else. I mean, it's just so absurd. It's so irritating. Sorry.
I literally was
No,
saying
it
this
is.
yesterday because I was going to before the snow came in, I was dropping off food to my mama and my grandmama and going to my mama's house. Is these people, it was a building that had burned down a little while ago. And there was a whole bunch of Mexicans fixing the roof, like literally putting a new roof on a building right before it snows. And I said, I know no niggas who be out here. There were 30-mile-per-hour winds yesterday in Memphis. And it was like maybe 12, 15 degrees outside. I don't know, no niggas who finna be bobbed the builder on a roof in that kind of weather other than immigrants, other than folks who do actual construction work. Like niggas is not doing it. The black people in Memphis are not doing that work. So it's definitely jobs we don't want to do. And then be having a nerve to say, but they're taking the jobs. Yeah, they was Mexicans, Brittany. We have a large Mexican population in Memphis. Like it's huge. It started growing in like the 1990s. And so there's like a lot of first generation Mexicans here. One of my best friends first gen, and a lot of like families who fully moved here and built families here. So we have a huge Mexican population. That's the only reason why I know, because I know a lot of Mexican niggas. And I saw them on that roof and I was like, and I would never do that shit. You know, when they be saying you niggas don't be building no more, y'all don't be building no houses no more, they don't. But
You damn right. And why should we?
I agree, we should not. But the brown folks be doing that shit. They be doing them jobs we definitely don't want to do. And I know for damn sure, as soon as the snow clear up, they're gonna be back out there finishing their roof. And that's the issue.
Look at, even as I talked about what is supposed to be Howard County, one of the top rated places to live. Look at what I just heard about happen at the mall, at Columbia Mall. McDonald's don't exist anymore because there's no more brown people to work in it. They literally shut it down. Their whole workforce.
They shut down because a lot of Mexican folks were getting picked up, or
that's right. That's right.
So they shut down.
So it's McDonald's, people. McDonald's can't even keep its doors open because they were exploiting all that labor. And instead of just standing up and say, we're going to defend our workers and keep the doors open, even out of spite, we are a multi-billion-dollar company with long roots in this country. And you're
comment, and I want to pull it up because I do think that it has to do a lot with the type of like job trade training that we used to have. This guy said, I know many black contractors, neighborhood mechanics. We have a lot of neighborhood mechanics, not as many contractors. All the niggas want to be developers because y'all didn't push this capitalistic view on people of like, you got to flip houses and be an investor and be a developer. And we used to have a really big VOTech or vocational technology like center here in Memphis in the schools. I actually took cosmetology in high school, and then they cut all the programs. We don't have welding and shit no more. We only have one technical school here, so they aren't entering those fields because they don't know how to do those things. Like we have some electricians, HVAC of course, but we don't have black people who are getting on top of roofs or building houses like that. Like it's really scarce. It's mostly people who want to be in charge of the people who are doing that, because everybody thinks that they're too good to be actually doing the building. They deserve to be in charge of somebody who's doing that, because we also push that view on people as if like regular work isn't good enough. Like it's not good enough for you to go and build something, which is crazy.
It is crazy. It is crazy. So some other things that stood out in that report is the difference between ICE working this term at large, which is the term that they use to put to when you have ICE agents that go out into a neighborhood, go out to a Home Depot, go out and just start snatching people up. What I thought was most interesting was that in 2021, there were 36,000 people who were detained via at-large measures. So again, just clarifying for the record.
Say that again, please.
Yes, in 2021, 36,000 people had been picked up via these at-large collections of migrant and immigrant people in public spaces. And I noted that specifically because I was like, I don't have any understanding of why people think, oh my God, this is so, like, why? I can't believe they're doing this. They've always been doing this, right? It's not like, it's literally not new. So specifically when I found the note of 36,000 people in 2021 detained at large, I was like, well, I gotta write that down. They note in here this, the referendum that came out that they have to do 3,000 arrests a day. And I think this is something that people need to understand how these quotas work, right? And Amber, specifically, I thought of you when I saw this number because I don't even remember like when it was, whatever had gone on in your neighborhood, and somebody asked you about getting arrested again, and you were like, me getting arrested is not up to me, right? It's up to the person that I'm encountering in the moment that I'm doing the thing that somebody decides they have to arrest me for. And when you start talking about quotas and how how things start getting to a point where it just feels like everybody is, they do this pooling of just grabbing everybody they can grab because they have to get to 3,000. And I want people to understand that the quota of 3,000 is not, we're actually going to be able to do anything with these 3,000 people. It is, we have to terrorize and grab at least 3,000 people in a day. So what that means is if 2,985 of those people end up getting released, that doesn't matter. They've met their quota, right?
Because they made the arrests, which is all they
Right.
care about. So the only data, and that's something we've been talking about too, like when we're reporting about what's happening in Memphis, they are only reporting the arrest numbers. And then people in the comments under like these different senators and stuff that are pushing these talking points are like, yeah, but the DA won't keep them in jail or this and this and that. But realistically, they can't keep them in jail because they're arresting them for things that they aren't to be arrested for. Like you can't arrest somebody for not having insurance. There's a mandatory fine. The state has a law that requires a mandatory fine, not jail time. So yeah, they're releasing them because they can't illegally hold someone. And y'all keep lying to people saying that you're arresting criminals when you're not. So they're believing you and then thinking you're letting them all go. But no one ever follows that. So they're all, following this warped rhetoric, and they falling down the Senator Brent Taylor rabbit hole of believing whatever he says. So anytime he posts something, they just be like, yeah, and it's the DA's fault. And they just won't hold the people. And you need to do something about that. But it's not going to work because even when he tried to get rid of our DA, they dismissed those claims too because he's not doing anything illegal. He's following the law, literally, but he's just mad about it.
Right.
Not you highlighting the text. I know that's right.
Listen, this is
I'm
why
just checking it as I'm going through it, because I haven't had a chance to really look at it. So, and it's
this
I'm
is
just
why
pulling.
Jared has
You
to push the
prepare ahead
button.
of time. I had prepared ahead of time.
Good for you. That's why we expect from the best, Amber.
You're so funny.
So
I did like the page that had the figures before that. Can you go back up?
Yeah, go ahead.
These,
yeah. So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like I know these are 2025, 2024 numbers, but this is what I was talking about earlier where like we had we were doing these people's briefings in the Free the 901 campaign that I'm deleting the comms and stuff for. And folks like immigration lawyers that I had contacted were speaking about how they were arresting people who had legal immigration status. One person like was due to get her like actual green card in like 2 days, like it was in the mail. And they were arresting people. They were tracking like where they were in the process to meet quotas because they were not meeting the quotas before that. And so they were just finding people to arrest. And so of course this person eventually will like, it'll get dismissed and they'll come back, but it helps them to meet those quota numbers. And then I also put a link in the chat, Jared. I don't know if you saw it, but it has the Memphis Safe Task Force data that shows the percentages too about the enforcement and like how they're targeting people for ICE arrest too.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Do you want to pull that up real quick, Jerry?
this here, this was it, right?
No, it's in the private chat.
In the private
it's the
chat.
one that says Looker Studio.
Yeah, no, oh, right, because it's in a different tab. Okay.
Look, there'd be nothing but I spared Amber. She got 3 of the links. Jared got like 12 because I'd be totally out of control.
That's how you be doing him. We're just gonna use this first page, but I just want to talk through like some of the enforcement strategies they're using. So before this task force came here, they were doing some traffic stops, but not as many because we actually passed the ordinance that I talked on here before about when Tyree Nichols was murdered. We passed the ordinance about pretextual traffic stops. The state did pass a bill to try to supersede that. But even after that bill passed, they still were not doing a lot of traffic stops, especially pretextual traffic stops. So we compared this with the data from the data transparency ordinance we had passed 2 years ago. and the data transparency dashboard they put up for this task force. And it shows that there's a 310% increase because they're using the traffic stops to pull folks over to eventually arrest them for ICE detention. And if you go to the citations per ticket by race tab, it'll show you like a breakdown of the races, because I know a lot of folks are asking like what that looks like here, because Memphis is majority Black. And so far it's still 77% Black people being pulled over. And under that, right under that is Mexican and brown folks. So it's still pretty close. Like the numbers are still what I would expect for like Memphis, because it is majority Black. But this is a lot of like African immigrants being arrested, a lot of folks from like Ethiopia, Eritrea. We have a lot of East African immigrants here because they be coming to opening gas stations, child, and I'll be getting them joints. But we have a lot of, West African immigrants and East African immigrants here who are being really heavily targeted. At the beginning, like when this first started, they had a lot of state troopers like outside of mosque. And so I literally had to call the mayor, and other folks had to call him and be like, hey, y'all need to stop this shit. Like, this is a clear violation, a clear constitutional violation. And we got lawyers who will for sure sue you. And then they stopped doing that shit, because you can't sit outside of a mosque and wait on people to leave and then ask them for their driver's license. That's religious discrimination. So they stopped doing that, and then they just kept doing more traffic stops. So I just wanted to show this so people can see the percentage difference. And then some of the numbers are a little off because some of the Hispanic folks are under ICE numbers, which they will not give us. So we had to do a FOIA for. So you're going to see a huge disparity between like the white and Hispanic folks. But some of those folks under white are also immigrants, because Memphis is also a huge medical hub. So there's a lot of people from Germany, Sweden, Berlin, like folks in the EU who are coming here to work as researchers at St. Jude, to work at Le Bonheur Hospital, the children's hospital here, which is a huge hospital that has a big research wing, and then also to work at like these research labs. So we have a lot of white immigrants as well. And I just wanted to make sure I showed y'all these numbers so you kind of got a comparison of like what we're talking about in the report in like real time, because that's how they're enforcing this. And even though they won't say that they have the quotas, we know they have the quotas because people be snitching on them. And it's several folks who are in the Memphis Safe Task Force group chats message our Free the 901 page with T all the time. They snitching on them all the time. And so far, all of it has panned out. Anything they told me was always true. So I'll be listening to them when they send us stuff. Even when they send us stuff about like them being outside of schools, the next day they were outside them schools at the exact time they said they would be out there. And we were able to reroute kids a different way so their parents didn't get taken. So people definitely be snitching on them, which is how I know they have a 100 arrests a day quota, which is actually insane. And they're not hitting that.
Well, I don't know about you and these other tethers out here, but I'm all for it. Grab up the whites and them Ethiopian immigrants, and let's get our jobs back. That's what I'm talking about. Get rid of all of them.
I can't stand you.
Let's go.
What Money say? Money say, I love when Amber is in her bag. I appreciate you, nigga.
And that's why you literally, I was on, we were texting about something else. I don't even remember what. And I read that report and I was like, oh no. We just got to figure out getting Amber on, because this is nothing less than
Josh's twin said, thanks for breaking the data down.
Josh's twin.
For anyone who's asking me to come on, because I love research.
Yeah, this is definitely your bag. And just for anyone who's concerned that north of 49 is gone, we're not playing that game with the whole racist bullshit. So
I am a tether. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You only need one. I'm in. My father locks me in. I'm safe. I think
the St. Jude researchers are scammers anyway, so I don't actually mind if they don't come over. But the Le Bonheur Children's Hospital need the immigrant researchers. They be in their bag. Mm-hmm. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I do think they scammers.
Yeah, it's so much happening.
Because how you ain't solved the cancer? Yeah, I don't know. I just have a whole thing about that. I just feel like you've been solving cancer research for a long time. Ain't no cures. I don't know, man.
Well, there's no cures here. There's no cures here. And I always like to remind people that the medical system in which we live under is about charging you to keep you just healthy enough that they can charge you for treatment. So we live in a place where it's about treatment for the thing because they can charge you for treatment. If they cure you, they can't charge you for treatment anymore. So the goal here is to keep everybody unhealthy and sick because that's where the money is. The money is
That's
in
why
the
you be
treatment.
taking
The
them
money
Chinese
is not
pills
in
and
the cure.
stuff.
That is why. That's why I do Chinese medicine. It's why I do all kinds of therapies. It's why I read a lot because not for nothing. I'm not trying to be on no daily medication because y'all think that's the way to go. Like, stop. Anyway, we digress.
I ain't fucked with St. Jude since one of my mom's like best friends, her daughter went there and they were like, if you come here, you don't get a bill. They sent her a fat ass bill. She had to refinance her house and then sell it to pay that shit off. And they still own that joint. And I said, y'all don't be telling people the little fine print about unless you meet this income margin. And I don't like that.
All right. Listen, so let me clarify.
Oh, wow.
My bad, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just playing with her. Don't listen to me.
So,
Don't listen to me.
They are Chinese herbs. Like they come in little tiny like circular pill forms. You have to take like 10 or 15 of them at a time. And so it is actually legit. And Amber has actually seen them because she's watched me take them. And so they're herbs. But yeah, I guess we could have said that a little bit better.
My bad. As someone who also takes herbs, I be joking too. My friends be like, you took your potions today?
That's funny.
So yes.
I just wanted to quickly shout out some of the super chats and 2Fs with all the surveillance. They know who everyone is. This is not random. That's also true. And did you highlight this one? What do you say to people who don't understand? You did this?
I highlighted it, because I feel like it's a good question.
Did you answer it already? Do you want to?
No, it was highlighted, so I didn't forget to go back to it.
Okay. Oh, do you want to save it then? My bad.
No, we can talk about it now because it's a reasonable question. So, Revolutionary Women's Radio, shout out to you. What do you say to people who don't understand why it's important for them to know that these things have always been happening? I'm tired of seeing people's eyes glaze over. As am I. I'm tired of people seeing their eyes glazed over too. But I think the answer to that question is keep saying it anyway, right? Like, let people glaze, let people get irritated. I have some very liberal friends who I try to limit my conversations with because I just don't want to get aggravated. And so when people say like, but it's not the same. And so I have to go backwards and explain how all of these rules and policies and laws, that all of these things are things that have been in place for years, and they may glaze over, right? But they've heard it, right? And so I don't have to revisit that conversation with that particular person. So the one thing that I'll encourage people to do, and this is a continuation of something that I've been saying over and over again, is we have to get to a place where we are no longer afraid to just be truthful and to just be honest with people and to just allow people to glaze over or to be offended or to be like, oh, why we have to always talk about this stuff. Like, let them be annoyed, right? Because the truth matters at this point, right? Like, I'm helping with an event. I helped with an event this morning and my job was check-in, and I sat at check-in wearing my keffiyeh, right? And I'm sure that of the people who were watching, like maybe one or two people were like, well, why is she wearing that thing? But one person stopped me at the desk and thanked me for wearing the keffiyeh. And that one person is the person I care about, the person who felt acknowledged and recognized because I chose to wear it, right? And so, like, fuck everybody else at this point.
It also means there was probably like half a dozen others who felt the same way and just didn't say anything.
Exactly.
So good for you for that too.
Yeah. So
that's why you got to answer questions in the class sometimes. They that only one person was strong enough to ask, that a whole bunch of people in the room need to answer to. So
even though I don't believe that labor should continuously be on Black women, but I do think that sometimes you just got to ignore that shit to just say it because somebody needs to ask them.
just one more thing Black women have to do, Renee.
I mean,
lead that effort too. Just one more thing.
It is what it is, and it's gotten. I feel like even more now. Like I was in the supermarket the other day, and a older Latino lady came up to me and she was like, "Oh, you could feel." She was like, "Where did you get this? It's beautiful, right?" And a lady in her full hijab, I feel like, chased me down in the supermarket to thank me for wearing it, right? And to like say to me like, "Thank you." And so those moments to me are way more important than the moment for the person who is annoyed, right? Because I said something, or who doesn't like the fact that I countered their argument with facts. Like at this point, I just feel like it's more important to say the thing, right? And whoever you're talking to will suck it up and they'll be okay. But the reality is, once you hear the truth, you cannot unhear it, right? So your goal should always be to give people the thing that they cannot unhear. And that it's that simple.
So right on, and right on time. Thank you, Random Thought, for another super sticker. And I don't know how many hosts like to remind of this, and I don't think Renee wants to, but I'm gonna do it anyway. When you donate to when you donate to a specific show, it goes to that host on this platform. So that if you want to show specific appreciation for a particular show or host, you can donate during the show. If you want to just show love to the whole platform, you can become a member, a subscriber, a patron, and so on. So show your love for Renee.
CBD fund, because I'm snowed in with a nigga who want to be outside. You can always say for Amber, for your stress, and also he has expensive dog food and treats. Just saying.
There you go.
He thinks he's a real boy, so it's a lot going on over here.
Dogs are expensive. So
and just can I just do one more thing? Sorry, just to answer, to somewhat answer this question as well. Jared, have you ever heard people attribute your leftism to your Jewish heritage? Not only do I have that happen repeatedly, and I'll say this as a tease for elsewhere for another time, that something to that effect happened just this week. So it happens somewhat often. There's undue blame and praise given. But I will say that, because what is often under attributed is because my mother is a Jew and I come from this long lineage of wealth hoarders and producers, I don't need any money. So I just wanted to finish that previous point. Not only did I inherit Jewish radicalism, but money. And as a result, all the money you give to this show goes to Renee. So you don't have to feel like you're funding yet another Jew on the low as we infiltrate. But no, honestly, that happens. It happens both as a pejorative and sometimes less frequently as in an attempt to praise. But yes, and another time we could talk more about why all of that is misplaced, or off, but whatever. But yes, it happens. So yeah,
it does. I appreciate you, Jared. I do. So the other thing for me, and I think this was the biggest thing from that report because I have like 6 or 7 notes about it, was what the report really, really crystallized for me is that this is all about the money that is made by detaining people in private prisons. So when you look at some of the policies that come along with this, like there's a no release policy. If they have an excuse to hold you and detain you, they keep you, right? Because every day that person is in that bed, the owner of that facility makes money, right? So there's a no release policy.
That was happening in Putnam County in Tennessee. So before this task force was here, Putnam County was one of the first counties to sign a 287G contract because it's a very small county in Tennessee, very rural, and they wanted the money. And the sheriff himself was making these posts on Facebook. The whole community's in uproar about it. They're like, we're not fucking with it. We don't want this. He said, well, I want the money. They're giving us $50 a head. And the longer I keep them, I get more money from the state. So that's what we're going to do.
Well, I mean, for me, this was revealing just as I was scrolling through this, that, and to your point about the policy following the desire for accumulated profits, that 90% of the people in ICE detention are in facilities run by private prison companies. And this is, again, talking to the previous points about the longevity of this problem. This is again a plug and play issue. Private incarceration, private prison industry has long been a problem in this country. The privatization of really a lot of the country's operations, including military operations. I mean, all of this began a long, long time ago. This slowly, really just using the federal government to privatize wealth even further. And this is just yet another example of it. So we've already seen histories where there's policies been enacted to say, and influence over politicians elected and funded by these private prison industries and those who invest in them, to say you got to keep them full. And how you keep them full, well, that's really up to you, but figure it out. Because we've invested, we have all this money, and we expect a certain return on our investment. So
yeah.
Yep.
I will say in Tennessee, we only have one private ICE detention center that opened in Mason, Tennessee. The rest of them are all from 287G contracts, because in that federal bill that Trump passed, they gave an incentive for states who get more people to take 287G contracts. And then our state last year passed a bill that also said they give additional incentives, like it's like additional $50,000 if you accept 287G contracts. So that's how they're converting people over to doing it, since they couldn't get a lot of them to do it. There still isn't, I mean, I think it's maybe 26 counties that have signed on now, but there still wasn't a lot last year when they first were passing the bill. But now these small counties, which are very small rural places, are saying, yeah, we want to do it. Like the one in Mason, the mayor, who's actually Mexican, by the way, who's Mexican and just became a citizen recently, said that they need the money. So they gonna do it. You get a $10,000 sign-on bonus if you come and become an ICE detention officer, and he gonna have to veto this and override it because they need the money, which is insane.
Again, George Jackson was right. You just got to pass the civil service exam yesterday to be legally allowed to kill me today. And oh boy, you said just got here, just became a citizen, is already lining up for that loot. I mean, that is bizarre. And speaking of which, salute to Prince George's County, Maryland. Thank y'all for this moment of humanity, detox, and deprogramming from this rotting settler colonial project. Peace. Peace to you as well, Mark.
So if you can, I don't know what page that you're on right now, but can you go to page 24? Because there's another chart on page 24 that talks about this connection between the increase in the prison like how they're imprisoning people. There it is.
This one here.
That's the one. Yeah. And so what this chart kind of highlights is how, like, the growth from November to now to in January for the amount of centers that have contracted with ICE. So really and truly what's happening, and this is the goal of the federal government, it is a stated goal, and if you look through this, it's in here somewhere, that the goal is to have 100,000 beds within the country that are dedicated to detaining people for the purposes of immigration and ICE detention. So when the goal is 100,000 beds, that means they need to keep incarcerated 100,000 people in order to keep those beds working and making the money. And so this 3,000 person quota that they've put in place is because they're very clear that there's only but so many of those 3,000 that they're actually going to be able to keep housed within one of these 100,000 beds. So this is all a game of, we'll snatch as many people as we can because we're only going to be able to keep a few of them, and the goal is to get to at least 100,000 that are housed within these private prisons and these local prisons that are working with the federal government, because all of these places make money by keeping people in those beds.
And they all need money, and they're exploiting that because they know that they need money.
And not that I can't help but just to finish that circle, and they need money because of the same policies by the same people who are running this place to exploit and extract from all of us and create this unnecessary hostility among all of us for the same silliness and blah, 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 blah. And again, I just want to also be clear.
We were upset when the Democrats caved during the shutdown because all this shit was in that bill.
That's right.
And we were talking about this, and we were saying there's a specific reason why we're pissed off, because these things are going to cause real world impact. Y'all letting them pass this bill is what gave them the extra income and the extra money to send all these people down to Memphis, to send all these ICE agents down here. They're in Nashville, they're here in Memphis, they're in the South, they're in New Orleans. Like, the head person was just walking around on Canal Street with like 20 officers talking about, yeah, we're going to be here until we get the mission done. And they was like, what's the mission? He said, immigration enforcement. And they were like, so what's the number? There ain't no number. Immigration enforcement.
Look, and my other thing is also not, when I'm not advocating some silly liberal hand holding, we're all friends and all this other kind of nonsense. I'm simply saying, when everyone goes back to their camps and their teams and have their private conversations over their meals and games and drinks and whatever, just be clear who is really causing the problem. That's all I'm saying. You know, we if you don't want to hang out with me, we don't have to hang out. If you don't want to hang out with so-and-so, don't hang out with so-and-so. But when you mad, be mad at who's really, that's all I'm saying. Like, be mad at the right, we don't have to hang out. Just be mad at the right group.
The wrong niggas.
Right. You got all this put.
Remember that 50 meme where it was like, fuck me, why's fuck me for? What I do?
What I do.
And for folks who caught the link, I'll remind Jared to add all these links for the reports and stuff into the show notes. But the last few pages of the report, like 44 and 45, really breaks down like the money that's involved in this. And that's really the only thing you need to look at to understand like what is really at the core of all of this work. It is the same reason that we are bombing boats in the ocean. It's the same reason that we're stealing, and I say we like loosely, I understand. It's the same reason that as a country we are stealing oil tankers. It's the same reason that we are waging war all over the place. It is because oppression, capitalism, imperialism, war, all of these things are money-making profitable efforts. And so the goal is always for those who have the ability to create chaos to do so if that is going to result in a larger profit. So just saying, that's that. We did get a couple of chats while we were going, Jared. If you want to pull those up real quick.
Yep. And the links to the reports are now in the show description. So just refresh everybody and grab them as necessary. Hangover Haze, thank you. Just want to thank y'all for the continued education. Thank you very much. And hydrate. Hangovers, hydrate. Just drink that water. There you go. Drink that water. Yeah, please, everybody also like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon. You can QR code it right here. And all the other links are in the show description, including now the reports we've been working from today.
Thank you. So the other thing that I found interesting as I was doing this research for the show was the New York Times, who y'all know I am not a supporter of the New York Times, but every now and again, they release something that's actually useful information. And I'm like, look at y'all doing some actual work. So they released a report last week talking about like what ICE is actually doing, like what the numbers actually look like as we're going through this whole process. And So this report really talks about like how many people are actually being directly impacted by these deportations and the numbers. And I don't, Jared, have you had a chance to read this article?
No.
Okay.
Nope. Nope.
No worries. No worries. So, but in here are a
I
couple of
read
charts.
the article.
Because Amber, we've established is better and is always prepared.
So there's a couple of charts in this one that I felt like, were really like useful as far as kind of just getting people to understand like where the numbers actually are. Because again, I think again, I'm not trying to dismiss what's happening, but I do think that there's a lot of sensationalization. Is that the word? What's the word I'm looking for, Jared?
Sensationalism.
There you go. That's happening. That is, giving this whole idea that things are just, they're totally out of control and oh my goodness, look at all the things that are happening. But if you really look at how the numbers have been working along the way, right? Like there's some things that people need to understand. So there is a section called What is Deportation and How Are They Counted? And it's page 3, if my Google thing is correct here. And it's a couple of squares on the page. And so this is something that I think is worth people understanding, like how these things actually like play out. So when they say, all these people who have been deported, it's important that people look at what these numbers actually mean. So they talk about this 230, right? Like this is the number that they've been really talking about. Like this is how many people, because they want people to look at this large number and feel like ICE and Homeland Security are doing this major job, right? But then when you look at how many people are at the border, how many people are denied entry, like the numbers are not they're really just not what they want you to believe. And they're nothing in comparison to what Obama was doing, for example, what Clinton did, because Clinton also has some outrageous numbers for deportation.
But these niggas not reading, so they falling for it.
Right. And so I think it's important for people to understand, like, according to the federal government, they were going to get millions of people out. They were going to get, millions. They were going to get millions. And it's not even close, like literally not even close. And so it's important that people kind of keep the reins and hold on to like a real understanding of how the numbers are like when they project these things in the nationwide mainstream narrative of, oh, look at how much work the government's doing to get rid of all these illegals, right? Because that's the thing that they're selling you. You have to actually look at what's happening on the ground and what the numbers actually are when you're looking at them like directly, because I think that matters.
It's all a ruse.
It really is. It really is.
I mean, again, you said well, you were citing their own numbers. 14 million so-called illegal immigrants is what was the percentage? 4%?
4%.
So, I mean, how big could these numbers be if they're real? Like this is all some nonsense. And wow. Yeah.
I think that the other article talked about, it talks about it too, the self-deportations. Because
Yes.
I know several people who self-deported, and I know that they get like a stipend thing too, but I don't actually know how they receive the stipend or how much it is. But I knew a lot of people like here in Memphis who just self-deported because it was easier. Because I mean, the way that they're terrorizing people, it was causing just way too much stress. Like people were having panic attacks every other second. They were like the same thing you're seeing happening in Minneapolis is happening here. People just aren't filming it, or we filmed it, but it's being used like for a court case and folks don't want their faces out there. And I think that that's also the biggest issue too, is like people don't know what's happening here so bad because they aren't seeing videos. But I just refuse to believe that you have to see a video of something to believe that it happened. I am of the opinion that if people tell you something happened to them, you should believe that it happened to them. I shouldn't have to show them being victimized. And that's the only thing I don't like about what's happening in Minneapolis. Like, one, because the white people outside, they care. And two, because they're seeing all these horrible videos. But I mean, I don't like what they did to little Liam, but I wouldn't want little Liam on the internet. The amount of children I've had to help get to school or get their parents to work, I wouldn't post them on the internet and be like, yeah, look at all these people that we're helping, or look at this person they're using to get their parents to come outside, because that's happened here too. So that's my only concern, is like, I really feel like it puts a bigger target on that person's back. And I know they're working to get Liam back, but they still don't have any control over it. Like, even those Congress members who are saying they're going down there to do oversight, they can't go physically down there and get them themselves, because actually that's considered trafficking, which is another issue that we had, where people whose parents were taken and their children are left here, if you try to take their children back to them or try to get the child back, it's actually considered trafficking across state lines. And we had several children who we could not get back to their parents, who they had taken to a different country because it's illegal.
That's craziness. And a lot, this is not in our it's not on the run sheet, Jerry, because I forgot to put it on there. But something interesting I think that Amber just reminded me of is the tactics that are being used to frighten people who are trying to help people who are under this umbrella, right? And so what they're discovering in Minnesota, and there's some families that have come out to complain.
ICE observer.
No, you can play it. You can play it.
Their license plates and then using the information in ways that raise serious privacy concerns. Fox 9's Corin Hoggard talked to some people who have had agents lead them right to their own homes. As he tells us, it sounds like a federal judge also has issues with that behavior.
Whether agents are allowed to access your private data using license plate readers or facial recognition was not part of the judge's ruling, but she did say observers established a pattern of ICE agents attempting to chill their First Amendment rights. When Judy and Noah Levy started following ICE agents driving away from a St. Paul shopping center last week, the agents stopped them almost immediately. Video shows an agent apparently recording their license plate and Noah Levy's face. Seconds later, an agent tapped on Judy's window.
He said, "How can I help you, Judith? Are you having a good day, Judith?" And we knew right away he got that from our plates.
Yeah, he was menacing us.
The Levys didn't back down. They kept following, but soon found themselves in a familiar neighborhood.
ICE is at my house.
Their experience mirrors that of dozens of observers, including Ryan Eklund, who noticed an agent recording his information as he followed in Woodbury this week.
They started to drive towards my neighborhood and must have run my plate because they drove into my neighborhood and into my cul-de-sac where I live. There's no circumstance where they would have rolled through there without knowing that.
So there's a lot of warrantless data collection going on here, of observers, of protesters, of just individuals who are seemingly in the area of an ICE detention or an ICE action.
ACLU attorney John Beeler says ICE agents are allowed to photograph license plates or people out in public, but they haven't explained what they're doing with the photos. Minnesota law restricts how law enforcement can use that type of data, usually allowing it only in active criminal investigations, not for identification of peaceful observers. If the goal is to frighten people out of legally recording them, though, it's working in at least some cases.
I don't know that I'll be continuing to follow ICE.
I'm not going to follow them. I'm scared.
I'll still do it, but that's an important thing. You can still participate within your level of comfort.
And the judge ruled yesterday that ICE agents are not allowed to retaliate in any way against people engaged in peaceful protest, which includes the people who are following and recording them. But no judge has ruled on the privacy concerns.
So I put that out there because I think two things. One, I want people to understand what's happening, right? And I saw a reel of a white lady who was basically like, don't get it twisted. The reason they were so quick to shoot Renee Good in the face is because she was a traitor to her race by doing what she was doing. So the minute you start doing things that are going to support the Black and brown people, the people in charge don't care if you're white anymore. Now, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know that we're going to take it that far, but I do think it's interesting to watch how these things are playing out in real time with ICE officers. Now, again, just be reminded, they're supposed to be out there making sure they get their quota, right? Like they're supposed to be out there making sure, but instead they are taking time to drive through private neighborhoods to make sure that the person who is following them is clear that they now know where that person lives, because it is a tactic of fear. They want you to be afraid. They want you to be, willing to do exactly what the second dude said, which was like, I'm not doing it anymore. Now I'm scared. That's the response that they want. In the end, there's only but so much that they can do to a person, right? If everybody decides that they're going to participate in the process, because in the end, they may have 22,000 ICE agents now, but there are 400 million people in the country. They are outnumbered, period. Right? So it's important for people to really start paying attention to those things, and to really understand that when you live in a colony, which again, we still live in a colony, y'all, like this is what they do. The goal is to prevent you from doing anything that's going to stop the state from doing the things that it wants to do, right? And all of this work that they're putting in, flooding Minneapolis, it's because they want people in other places to be afraid, right? It's not because Minneapolis is any particular space where there are more migrants and more immigrants. They picked Minneapolis because Minneapolis has already proven itself to be a place where the people are not protected by the state. I mean, not that there's any state where people are protected, but it proved itself, right? In 2020, the governor did not hesitate to send out the militia to stop protesters in 2020. So this is not new. And in fact, this is in part, and it's very important for people to understand this, because Nick Estes said this when he was on with Jared Ware the other day. Part of the reason they're so well organized in Minneapolis is because they've been organized since 2020. So it's a lot of the same groups that were doing the work in 2020 that already had a plan, that already had mutual aid set up, that already had all these processes in place to help people. That is why it's been it looks like such a strong effort. Like whatever happened in South Minneapolis this morning, by the time I peaked at Status Quo when we started, they already had the street blocked with like garbage and cars, all kinds of stuff, right? They are organized, right? And that's what the state does not want you to do. But go ahead. I'm listening. Go, Amber.
I would say I think that they are organized. I know a lot of people who are doing rapid response there. One of them watches the show. And one was a nigga I used to talk to, and I called him and told him to go watch the nigga who watched the show and check on him. But I think they are organized, but I do think that the white people do not have good security culture. I think that the article that you brought up, we aren't having those particular issues here because we aren't posting about being legal observers or doing interviews in the same way. And I know that they think that they're safe because they're white, so they don't really care as much about it. But the people who are legal observing here are also white. And like 4 FBI agents slammed a white lady to the ground a few weeks ago and arrested her for filming. So it definitely is happening here, but not as much. I also think that the lack of the security culture is going to become a problem. Someone in the chat was like, decoy car. That's something that we've been doing. We also have dash cams on all the cars. All the folks who are filming, like, are sharing their videos in real time to like other encrypted chats. And I think that some of that part is missing. I also think that I've kind of talked about the policy part before, but I do think it's important that we hone in on the fact that like a lot of the things that are happening here in Tennessee specifically is being tested to be used in other places. There was a bill passed last year that got a lot of attention after I got arrested because the senator really wanted to make sure that this 25-foot law went into effect, and it's called the Peace Act, and it's a test bill here in Tennessee that's now being applied in other states to be presented this year to try to pass in other states. But it requires that if a police officer requests you to move back, you have to move back 25 feet. So you can keep filming them, but you have to move back. And for people who don't know, I was arrested because I was filming the police. And after that, it like went viral, and this senator talked heavily about it in the state, in the Senate, you know, when he was testifying about the bill and pushing the bill, because he was saying like, this is a key reason why we need this. And the people who sponsored the bill mostly were Democrats, because they were saying the bill was written to address Nazis who were in Nashville. And this did happen. There was some Nazis in Nashville putting up racist flyers. So everything else in the bill is about things like that. Like, you can't hang on the back of a truck because they were riding in the back of a truck with flags, or you can't hang a banister over a highway because they were hanging banners over highways and like leaving them. But it also impacts organizing, because I've also hung some banners over highways and it wasn't a crime, but now it's a crime. Now it's a felony. Now it's a felony if someone tells me to move back 25 feet and I don't move back. Like, all these things are being tested here, passed here, and then tried in other places. And I would not be surprised if they try to push that kind of thing in Minnesota too, because Trump doesn't care about the law, right? So he'll try to figure out some kind of federal way to push these same kind of laws here, same kind of laws there that they're able to pass in the South. And so I want to raise that concern, because I am seeing that happen a lot. Like, they are testing things here. The same type of enforcement they're doing here, they tested it here and they said, oh, we need to triple it. And they said triple that amount to Minnesota. But they tried it here first to see what was going to happen.
All right, thank you, Amber. Very, very key information. Just because it goes along with what you're saying about how, like, the response from the community and being organized. Hangover Hayes says, I cannot recommend enough going to one of the 90-minute ICE Watch trainings that are being held for free at least once a week. I learned so much. I made 100 whistle packs and distributed in my community. And so thank you for that information. There are a lot of ICE trainings that happen. A lot of them are virtual. Shout out to BAP, because they'll drop them in the chat whenever one is coming up so people can participate. So yes, I do encourage people, if there are opportunities, to at least learn how you can help give access to resources within your community to support people as this whole thing is happening. Then definitely you should be participating in those things. So a couple of other things that I came across that I thought were super, super interesting as we were going. So the prison policy, and I found this report this morning. It's not super long. I did email it, but I don't know if everybody got to it. But
I read
the
that
prison
one too.
report. Say again, Amber.
I said I read that one too, but
so the reason I thought this was so interesting is because it does link the whole local versus federal and what's happening. And I particularly found it of interest because they talk about Tennessee specifically and New Jersey specifically within the report. And so one of the things that the Prison Policy Initiative is pointing out is how much your local government being invested in these policy programs that allows them to work with ICE, how it allows ICE to work within your community, and not one, you don't even know what's happening, and two, it allows them to snatch people up out of state and local detention centers under the guise of ICE or whatever immigration thing they're coming in to get people for. So, and I just forgot the number for that policy. Amber's chewing.
287G contract.
287G contract. So those contracts, what they allow to happen is for the local law enforcement, whoever it is, the sheriff's office, the city, the police department, whatever it is, to allow ICE and to engage ICE and to support ICE as they are working within communities. And so just like Amber was talking about within Tennessee, that they're taking the money, right? Like you get a little bit, you get a kickback apparently if you help to terrorize your own community. And so
Yes,
part of the way
for every day someone is held in a bed.
Wait, say that one more time.
You get a stipend for every day someone is held in a bed. So like you already get a percentage from someone going to jail and being in a bed already. And in the rural counties, it's different. So the formula in Tennessee is bigger in like Shelby County, where it's larger, and smaller in like a rural area. So like they get like $1.25 per head that's in a bed, but you get like an extra $50 to $100 if it's for ICE,
which is wild. So Jared pulled up the chart that's in this, and so it talks about how the work of these local how like these local jails, local prisons, how they're working with ICE. And so it's really, it's incumbent upon people. And I know we had these conversations about like, the uselessness or usefulness of working within the political project, right? Electoral politics. But the reality is, if you force your local government to end their contract, right, it will do more than not forcing your local government to end the contract, right? So if they're all in bed with doing these things and no one is trying to say, well, can we at least end this 287G contract so that you all are not obligated to work in conjunction with ICE agents, then that will do something within your local community, right? And so what we're seeing is the communities that are saying we're going to end our contracts, at the least, they're not doing all the things that they're doing right now. So it's this is a struggle for me to say. I'm not a fan of harm reduction, but the reality is that in this current situation, if you are trying to figure out how do we as a community fight to try and prevent some of these acts and some of these things from happening, you should be looking at your city council notes and finding out when did they agree to sign on to allow ICE to go into your local jails and to work with your local police departments. And I just like to remind people that when the side of the police car says serve and protect, and that person is serving and protecting, it's not you. They're serving, protecting the ICE agent as they terrorize your community, right? So just making sure that this is clear to people, that this is why policy sometimes does matter. And I don't know, Amber, if you wanted to add on to that at all.
I actually found their 287G contract and I was looking at it. But I mean, I agree with you. I think that, so I'll say for Putnam County is different. Like they're doing like they are helping them find undocumented folks, but in Shelby County, it's not the same. It's like from the prison policy initiative thing you're talking about. They don't have a collaboration that allows apparently like database search. Like the ICE agents can't search the database of the jail to see if someone is undocumented, but they can hold someone there. So if the ICE agents bring someone and say, we need you to hold this person in the jail, then they've agreed to hold that person there. But they are not saying that we're letting you, find people in our database that are undocumented. I don't necessarily believe that, but that's apparently what our county sheriff signed on to. But the other places, the other counties, they signed on to more intensive contracts of like Putnam County is saying their officers are going to be trained and they're going out and finding people. And like some of the other smaller counties are saying like their sheriff officers are being trained to go out and find people as well, not just hold them in the jails, which I think is a way different.
All I wanted to add was that to the point of our previous troll, if the federal government wants to invest in relocation and aid, even we who are American citizens who would happily self-deport to some foreign country of our choice with appropriate resources supplied, I'll sign up. I mean, I'm like I'm here by initial force, but to the troll's point, like I don't need to stay here. Yeah, I'm saying I can make my way somewhere else in the world. I just,
It's about 8 Nigerians that want to marry me right now. All Yoruba, all dip. Not gonna hold you.
I'm saying I was gonna, I don't have any Nigerians waiting to marry me, but find me a teaching position, some healthcare, and drop a little bag on me. I'm out.
I know this. If you move to Vietnam, I'm coming to visit.
Hey, I'm about to scope out a location. So, I'm just saying, like again, I'm not wedded to this place out of just, some whatever.
I've seen the other countries and they're better.
I mean, let me have some.
I will find the price to Renee. They get a federal reimbursement rate of $75 per person per day.
That's wild.
For
Did you want to
Putnam
pull up
County.
any of these articles that you dropped in the private chat?
Yeah, you can pull up I don't know if the Tennessean one will load fully, but that's the one that
Yeah, I
has
got
the amount that they're making. But
Putnam County signs deal with ICE to hold immigration detainees. Oh no, so it won't. Yeah, I don't have a subscription.
yeah, I wasn't sure because I don't have a Tennessean subscription.
But
They be wildin'. So if we want to talk real quick about Memphis, about Tennessee in specific.
I thought these were supposed to be the states' rights. We don't want federal government over policing. It's like, what happened?
Listen, they only care about the states having their full rights when they want to do what the federal government wants them to do.
How odd.
Like that's
How
the only,
interesting.
like, all, you know, that's it. When they're all on board, don't nobody care about, you know, what we going along with the federal government. It is a wild contradiction to listen to the same exact people who carry on and say, like, my free speech is my right to say what I want. I should be able to use the N-word, free speech. But then all of a sudden now, if I say fuck ICE, they want me to go to jail, right? Like all of a sudden free speech stop mattering now, right? It don't matter no more.
It's that 14 billion in incentives that said, you know what? Maybe we're not so mad at the federal government taking over our state sovereignty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tennessee got a huge chunk of that money from the 14 billion. And I wanted to show this one because it shows the actual map of what I was talking about. So you can see that these are the most rural areas, the very top of Tennessee near Kentucky, the very bottom. The bottom is like the constables they're talking about, and like the Appalachia area, because they don't have like full governments there. And this also breaks down like when they signed on. So like a few of them were before Trump started his second term, and then lots of them were after because of the money that came in. And once again, they're doing this because these are very small counties. They don't give a fuck about immigrants, and they need the money and they want the money. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: they love a Mexican restaurant. All them counties got the best Mexican spots because I'd have been in a lot of them. They love the Mexican spots. They love them when they making the cheese dip for them and the chicken, cheese, and rice. But the moment they find out they're undocumented, they gotta go.
But you know, that 2.2% of the population is taking all them resources and all the jobs, Amber.
Yeah. They said they're taking all the public benefits. They're not getting anything. They're suffering. And I was like, is it crack? I know y'all be doing hard drugs in the Appalachian Mountains.
That meth, boy, that meth. But I'm telling you, you gotta, we gotta just rework the signs. It's not the 1% we fighting it. You know, it's not the 1%. It's that 2.2%. Get the immigrants, the 2%.
It's absurd. It's funny that you say Kentucky because I actually found in my rabbit hole, and it's on our sheet, Jared. Kentucky is one of the states that has been highlighted because they are so all in with these 287G programs, and they're all it's going to expand here now in Kentucky.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So it's funny that you said Kentucky because I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. So if the border for Kentucky between Kentucky and Tennessee is showing this growth, then it makes complete sense that Kentucky is next on the list. And so you have 22
those border states, they're all like what's the word? What would I call them? Like your super rural warehouse worker, like working in candy factory type shit, like the Appalachia, vibe. Like they're that group of white people. So of course they don't want nobody coming here to take their job, even though we don't want to work in the candy factory, but whatever.
Right. And we can, I actually have I had something on that too. But so Kentucky is just one of the states that stood out in my mind, that and again, these contracts between local law enforcement and the federal government are not new. This is not a new contract. That's why you'll note that it says increases, right? There's been an increase in local enforcement officers, local enforcement departments that are going along with these contracts. It's just because there's a little more money into it now. But this is not new. And some of these, what I thought was interesting, are the contracts that started in Trump's quote unquote first term, right? And are still going. So what does that say? If it started in Trump's first term and the contract is ongoing, it is a policy and a contract that survived the Biden administration, right? The contract stayed in place. Why'd the contract stay in place? Because the Democrats don't give a fuck about this stuff either. That's why. So when I say this is where the problem is, because it continues from one thing to another. This is what I mean, because these contracts could be ended if the Democrats were not on board with oppressing.
That's the reason we've been pushing here as a demand is like, the sheriff's department, they can end the contract. It's optional. It's not like a requirement that once you signed on, you end it forever. They can leave anytime.
And this is just right down the street from where I live, about an hour ago. So even in these so-called tree-lined streets, Howard County Police responded to a call this morning near Tamar Drive in Columbia for a report a person had been removed from a vehicle and taken from the location. Officers arrived on the scene and spoke with witnesses. That this was first confirmed ICE activity known to police in this area. There is no additional information about the driver. First known, it's not known to me. This is not the first known to me. Why are they so late? But yeah, so
Yeah, I looked up pulled up the numbers real quick because I know someone in the chat was asking. Oh, Monty, right here. She made a comment that, remember, after Hurricane Helene, there was a whole thing about immigrants stealing FEMA money. So this was a whole thing in Tennessee too. They would not pass hurricane relief money. They actually went into a special session about the hurricane because East Tennessee was the most impacted. There was a whole highway that was knocked out. You cannot get from Tennessee to like up north on that side. And they would not pass it without requirements around ICE enforcement, parts about not allowing, something about not allowing people who didn't have certain contracts to receive funding. It was all this extra red tape around it. And it didn't pass at first because they didn't want to approve it. And then they were like, we don't have any choice. So they actually left the special session, didn't pass it, got called back into another special session the governor called, and then passed it.
This is what they do. This is what they do. So one of the other
school voucher money too. I forgot. That was the other big thing. The other big thing was that it included the school voucher money too. So like, a governor, for folks who don't know, a governor can call you into special sessions. They can call reps into a special session, and they have to define what the special session is about. They defined that it was about Hurricane Helene, but they included all these extra things in the bill around like vouchers and ICE enforcement, and immigrants that of course weren't listed in the governor's order, but that's how they like slid it in there. And it was a whole thing because I don't know if y'all know this, but Republicans, especially the MAGA ones, are staunchly against vouchers. They said it's a handout. We don't want that shit. That's not what we like. That's not the kind of government we want. It's so crazy when they talk about it, like hearing their rhetoric around it. Cause I'm like, that's interesting that you say it like that, but that's how they view it. And they were like staunchly against it. And so they were so pissed off that they had to pass it because they didn't agree with some of the immigrant language, and they definitely did not agree with the vouchers.
That is very interesting. That is very interesting.
I sat in a state rep's office that had a Trump cutout, a full cutout of Trump's body, and said, I don't fuck with them vouchers. That's a government handout. And I know that my Republicans are trying to, pull me to the side and get me on their side, but it's not going to work. And I'm just looking at him and looking at his Trump cutout. Looking at him and looking at his Trump cutout.
Vouchers for school. Sorry.
Vouchers for public school. My bad. Click it, Renee.
Sorry. Vouchers for public school is this whole push towards giving people vouchers so that they can, the money that they would have been technically paid towards their child's education as part of their property taxes can now be used for them to go to a private school or a charter school that charges that type of thing. Well, charter schools don't charge, sorry. Private or
Just for private schools, no charter schools are
private and but what's the word I'm thinking? Religious schools. Sorry, because you don't necessarily have to be private. You don't have to be religious to be
the
private.
religious schools are technically like private here, like they still charge a tuition or whatever. But yeah, they put like millions into that voucher program, and this was a huge thing here because they had been trying to pass those vouchers for almost 4 years. Like this was the only thing really that Governor Bill Lee has focused on, other than some criminal justice reform stuff that actually was good stuff. But I mean, he never gonna talk about that shit. But he focused heavily on these vouchers. Every year he was like, we're gonna get these jumps passed, we're gonna get it passed. And he used that emergency as a way to get it passed because it wasn't working. Like the Republicans were like fiercely against it. And it was very interesting to me, the rhetoric they had around it. But the data around the voucher program that started last year just came out recently a few months ago. And it showed that it was mostly just rich white people who used it to go to their private school. Most poor folks did not get recruited to go to no private schools. They weren't using it for school choice. It's literally people.
And it wasn't, and it's not enough
$1,000.
money. It's also not enough money to close the gap for a lot of these schools for families who can't really afford it. The amount of money that you're getting from the voucher is not enough to help you actually pay tuition at one of these.
It's only $7,000.
Right.
It's only $7,000. It ain't covering the tuition. It literally is just a little tax break for people who already were going to private school, which is what I talked about from jump. Like when it came to Memphis, people were like getting excited. I was like, this is only going to put you further in poverty because you're going to take this voucher, but then you have to make up the rest of the tuition. So then you're going to either take out some loans, take some extra jobs, because there's all these predatory lending places here in Memphis and in Tennessee, especially. Like they passed some recent laws that allow them to like build even more of them. So they're all over just preying on people, and they're just going to do whatever they got to do to pay the tuition because they're thinking, oh, I need my kid to go to this private school, which is not true. There's a little black boy in Memphis right now that's in jail facing 50 years because some white girl said that she kidnapped him and raped him. And everybody's saying it didn't happen, allegedly. Everyone's saying that's not what happened, but that she felt rejected or something and is blaming this little black boy. And that's why we tell people not to send their black kids to private schools.
So listen, so my child does go to a private school, my little black child, but there's actually less white people at the private school he goes to than if he was going to the local public
because
school.
of where you live.
Because of where we live. So, and he's on scholarship. So,
come on, scholarship.
He's on scholarship.
No, all the white kids who don't want to be near any of the black people in a majority black city that they choose to move to go to the private schools because they don't want to be near the Negroes. So they got to go to a private school with the other whites. That's the only place they can find their kind is to go to a private school.
Yeah, some wild stuff. So the last thing, we got just a few more minutes. There was a statement released by the White House making some wild proclamations about what these ICE actions were doing for the larger country and for the people. And I'll be honest, I didn't take too much time to, drive myself crazy about like disproving all these things because I don't know about y'all, but statements out of the White House like make my head hurt sometimes. Like sometimes literally like
too many bold black letters.
Yeah, it's just too much stuff.
I said, why are you using all these black letters? None of the words are making sense.
It just makes zero sense. And I also am very, very confused as to why like Truth Social has become like the press release place for the white. It's the weirdest. I'm like, y'all using social media for press releases. Like, how did we get here? I feel like that is more concerning for me. Because I'm like, what if you're not on Truth Social and he announced something that everybody really needs to know? Like, what, like how that gonna work? Go ahead, Jared.
No, I was just going to say this is, that started before his buddy Elon or his once upon a time buddy Elon took over Twitter, because it was part of his beef against Twitter, his beef against the mainstream media. And he's just holding form, it's just another grift. And it's slightly, maybe True Social is slightly above crypto in that it actually provides something that people can use. but it's just another way for him to grift off of his followers and the MAGA community by claiming they've created some sort of alternative space, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, so that's, I mean, yeah. And, you know,
it's just wild. So this release from the White House is a little over a week old, and it's a proclamation about how these mass deportations are. And so there's a list of things that they have here. So one, mass deportations are lowering housing costs, which
what is that? Some John Hope Bryant math they working with? What is that?
Must be.
I mean,
but also like not even being funny. If you're talking about people who quote unquote are illegal and aren't supposed to be here, they are not buying houses. Why? Because you can't qualify for a mortgage.
Or I mean, I thought that they were trying to say that by deporting them, actually, I don't. Never mind. I didn't even. No, that doesn't even make sense. I was going to say by deporting them, they were going to say the value of homes goes up, but that wouldn't lower housing costs.
Right.
So I don't. Yeah.
That statement actually might make more sense. Like if you want to say like, we're increasing home values because we're getting rid of the blight. Like that might actually play better. You're lowering housing costs. Like what are we talking about right now? Like what is going? Like what are we?
That doesn't. Yeah, they're just making we get higher wages off of that.
Higher wages. They're more.
I'm making more money.
There you go.
I'm making more money, Renee.
Yes. Listen. Apparently, that's the word. That's the word.
It must be on its way. It must be in future checks.
Right. And then mass deportations equal lower crime, even though every single study has confirmed that people who are not here legally are less likely to participate in criminal behavior. They are the smallest group of people who participate in criminal behavior. And let's just point out, to be clear, that now the majority of people that are being picked up by ICE are people who don't have criminal records.
No. Even though they definitely lying, they definitely trying to beat them numbers up.
Definitely.
Well, we showed you they found a gun on whoever they said they killed today.
Right. And there's no information about that person. So we don't even know if that person was actually here illegally, quote unquote. I mean,
or the gun was theirs or whatever,
right?
But
because we always tell people never, ever, ever take the initial police statement for fact, because it like 99% of the time is not. Right. They just be lying.
And 2 million native-born Americans have gained employment, while 662,000 foreign-born workers have lost employment.
Mm-hmm.
So am I reading this correctly? Even if these claims are true, they're admitting that they can hire more native-born Americans regardless of how many they deport, right? Because 2 million is way more than 600,000, right?
There's a gap of about 1.3 million. There.
So I'm just saying, like, so you could, and then how many of these are the $14 billion funded ICE agents?
Right.
It's like, this is some.
Right. And also this number, this 662,000 that they're jumping up and down about, like, I don't even know who that is, because the 5-year-old that they just arrested is not a working person, right? That like the 5-year-old did not have a job, is not a person who's blocking anybody from any level of employment.
But at least I can go to DC again because it's safe now. 60% murder decline rate and 68% carjacking drop. So that stop it, Amber. Them 4% so-called illegals, they've been doing 90% of the crime. Black DC has been. There has been no crime if it wasn't for the Ethiopians and the Somalis.
I'm waiting for the hashtag crew to jump on this one. Like, look,
they said they be getting on that.
And then you saw Tucker Carlson with the FBA folks agreeing with that, right? Because Tucker Carlson said, "I used to live in DC, and I know that black people don't like Ethiopians." Like, because Tucker is ensconced in the black DC community. He knows
them.
He knows black DC, and he said, "I know y'all don't like Ethiopians, and now that we've gotten rid of them, there goes the crime." Thank oh, Tucker Carlson and Trump with all the facts.
There you go. So
and there you go. Here you go, Amber.
There's actually there's more reports on the run sheet, but the thing that I think that I initially pulled up that made me decide I wasn't going to make too much effort with trying to like prove any of this is like nonsense. So the next article over, Jared, is the Forbes article. And this was the first thing that I found, right? So this Forbes article was published 3 days before this statement that the White House published. So I just want people to be clear.
The U.S.-born unemployment rate rose after Trump reduced immigration. Hold on. The U.S.-born unemployment rate rose after Trump reduced immigration. Now, how'd that work?
So once I read this, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm not doing any more work to try and deal with this nonsense because these people are all ridiculous. Because this is literally 3 days before the White House released their statement. So in their statement, they say very, very clearly that by deporting 662,000 people, they have increased the job market for US-born people by 2 million, right? And this article from Forbes literally says the exact opposite. Literally says the exact opposite.
Foreign-born workers of the U.S. labor force due to the Trump are in the U.S. labor force due to Trump administration policies on legal and illegal immigration. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows a decline of 800,000 foreign-born workers and a drop of 1.3 million. All right, so where do they explain the
other part?
The other part. I'm just curious how they. Congress.
When you say explain the other part, what do you mean?
Like, how are they? How are they saying that a decrease in it by increasing deportation, they're also decreasing the labor market for U.S. born workers?
If you scroll down to this section, as U.S. born workers have not benefited from the policies, it explains it a little bit. But one of the quotes here, and it's under the little graphic, whatever thing is there, the second paragraph, it says there is no evidence that U.S.-born workers have benefited from the decline in foreign-born workers, according to the analysis. The employment rate for U.S.-born workers was 4.1% in December, compared to 3.7% in December. That represents an 11% increase over a 12-month period. They note that the comparison is most valid because they do not seasonally adjust the estimates by nativity. The seasonally adjusted unemployment rate for all workers in the economy rose from 4.0 in January 2025 to 4.4 in December.
Okay.
So basically what they're commenting on is that this idea that removing the immigrant population is going to somehow increase job opportunities for US born citizens is nonsense. The biggest reason that it's nonsense is because if you think about the amount of businesses that have shut down because of what is happening with ICE, it is not these businesses, it's not just immigrants working there, right? Like, in fact, you more likely have an immigrant person who's cooking in the back, who's bussing tables in a restaurant, but it's usually it's a US born person often at the register. So all of them have lost their job when you close the restaurant.
Yeah, that's what they're saying here. Immigrants foster job creation by starting new businesses. But those are gone. And then, so yeah, that makes sense, because I did see how unemployment rates went up. But so that just makes sense. If you follow the actual data regarding employment as opposed to the claims of the White House, then it makes sense. It would make sense that if corporations can increase their profit by getting if to the extent workers are being removed, it doesn't necessarily mean that those jobs will be replaced. especially if those corporations businesses can't afford to replace them, or feel like they're going to make more money without the new hires, just by exploiting existing labor even more. As is the case is even in my area of the economy. They're just like, work harder and deal with the replacements in your department, et cetera, or the absences in your department. So I'm just saying that to say that I think it makes perfect sense not only to look at the actual data, the economic data and labor data, but also to be reminded that a lot of this is determined by the owners of these businesses and who they will and will not hire and at what rate.
Right.
And salary. So yeah.
So the fact that this was the first thing that I found when I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm over trying to debunk this nonsense. One of the first things Amber said when she came on was that the quote unquote crime levels in Memphis had already decreased prior to all of these actions starting. So this whole like claiming of credit for the quote unquote reduction in crime is all nonsensical. And so, they list these cities and no one's talking about the actual, like, one, I'd like to point out how nonsensical this whole idea of crime is, right? So when they talk about how crime is being reduced, like, what are we talking about exactly? Because we're not talking about the ICE agents that are beating up people in the street, which is assault. We're not talking about the ICE agents that are spraying people with chemical weapons when they don't need to, which is also assault. We're not talking about the murdering and the trauma that's happening. Like, none of that stuff is going on the list. So as usual, when they talk about crime, they're talking about people who are driving with an expired license because the fees that come with trying to get your license renewed are more than your family can afford in the moment. And you have to work, so you have to drive without your license. Like, that is the crime that they're focusing on when they say like crime reduction, which just drives me crazy. But I know we're at one. I think there are a few more super chats that we didn't jump on just to do that real quick. So
thank you again, Hangover. We also got help for harm. Conversely, how many are imprisoned as crime drops? They were building new facilities for migrants for years. I think that, yeah. So as crime dropping and them investing in incarceration are mutually exclusive according to the illogic of capital. So. Thank you, Robert Brown. Excellent program. ICE are the slave catchers of capitalism. My wife is Kenyan with American citizenship and no criminal record, but I worry. Oh yeah, there's a lot of stress, and there's a lot of stress around here as well. There's a lot of stress.
Yeah, they need snatching up everybody.
Yeah. Thank you y'all for combating the state's nonsense with facts that people can share with others. Thank you, Zero PE, for your continued support of the platform, and others. Please feel free to. Even after the show's live is over, feel free to hype the show. You can hype now. You can add super thanks, and you can just put it in your socials, comment, like, subscribe, support the Patreon, do all of those things. And yeah, and big thanks to Amber and Renee. Yeah, go ahead.
Definitely. I appreciate you, Amber. We got to do this again. We'll have to circle back again and do some other stuff. But I am a big supporter of Amber, y'all. I don't watch a lot of TikToks, but I do enjoy your lessons on policy. I do find them to be very
appreciate it a lot.
So let the people know where else they can find you, and then I'll let Jared take us to the end. But thank you, Amber. I appreciate it.
No biggie. I appreciate you wanting to talk about this topic. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at A is for Afro. And also just want to say Renee really be coming through. She connected me to the Status Quo guy. She made sure I got connected to some other like media sources because folks really weren't covering what's happening in Memphis. So I also appreciate you for that.
There it is. Thank you all very much. Thanks to the undefeated chat. Thanks to those who will see this later as well. Peace to all of you, only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And we'll see you next week with more
Saturday with Renee.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black Liberation Media.